Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I am your host, W.J. Sheehan, author of the series of books, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters. There are 12 volumes now available in paperback and ebook at Amazon. And the rest of them are in audiobook, except for 12, which should be out shortly. I'm sorry I keep saying that, guys, but it's done, and I'm just waiting on somebody to do some work for me. So as soon as they get working, you can listen to it. But all of those audiobooks are available at Audible and on Amazon and iTunes as well. Now, somebody said they couldn't find a particular book on iTunes. And I just said to him, go to Amazon. So I don't have explanations for every little thing that happens out there. But everybody's buying most of these things through Amazon. So that's my recommendation to all of you. You can find whatever you need at Alice's Restaurant.
Yeah, and you just have to search vigorously,
Yeah.
if you can't find it.
That's right. And on Amazon, it's always good to type in the complete title and the volume number. I saw that because they don't come up in any kind of chronological order, and they're not all listed together. They sporadically have them like a shotgun blast. I don't know why they do that. Why wouldn't you put all an author's works together as one, cohesive work? But they don't do it that way. So just, spend a little time and you'll find what you need.
And I didn't mean to step in before my formal introduction.
Please do. And by the way, Kev, I just got a little container from a company called Walker and Sons, and they're not a sponsor of this show. It's called Slap Your Mama. Cajun seasoning.
Oh.
Slap Your Mama, original blend. And on the side it has a slap scale, and it says that this here is medium.
Oh, medium on the slap your mama scale.
Yeah. So when you slap your mama with a medium slap, she's probably just going to set back a step or two. You're not going to knock her down. So slap your mama, Cajun seasoning. So I'm looking forward to experimenting with that.
Very cool.
Crazy. Who is this guy? What the hell does slap your mama have to do with Bigfoot? Absolutely nothing, son.
I'll let you navigate out of that one.
Anyways, Kev, so what do we got today in our Cryptids in the News and Other Oddities segment?
Yeah, we're going to go to the other oddities tonight.
Okay.
And we're going to get a little freaky deaky. So this one's may not give you chills or scare the hell out of you. You may not have to hide the kids, but it is the definition of freaky deaky.
And listen, if you looked up freaky dick, what is that? The Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
I wonder if freaky deaky is in the Urban Dictionary.
I think you're going to have to create a Wikipedia entry for freaky deaky.
Yeah, because I was going to say, what would the definition of freaky deaky in your opinion? Some type of concise. I'm trying to think of it. I can't even really describe freaky deaky.
I mean, it's odd and strange and weird and freaky.
Kind of like me.
Hey.
Go ahead, bro.
All right, so get your passport out.
All right.
We're going to fly across the Pacific for this freaky deaky adventure.
All right.
And we're going to go to a city called Nagoro, which is in the country of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And Nagoro, and I'm going to put pictures of this stuff up on our website, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com, under episodes, under episode 250. You got to check this out. So Nagoro is a very small village in Japan, and it has one very notable feature. Okay, you ready for freaky deaky?
I'm ready.
It's got a life-sized doll population that outnumbers the human population by nearly 10 to 1.
Wait a second here. They have life size, like mannequins, or
They're dolls.
they're dolls?
So they look a little bit like, the Muppet human characters.
But they look like people.
Oh, yeah.
And they're outside? I mean,
Oh,
they're not
yeah.
in a museum or anything?
No, outside. Like you're just roaming through town, and some of them are sitting on the park bench. Some of them are walking through a field. Some of them are standing next to a river.
And forgive me for laughing, but I'm like, man, has everybody gone mad?
No. So, but everybody has died. So, Japan generally has a real population problem, right? Like they're having very few new births of children generally over the years.
Okay.
And this village is down to 27 people living there. And the youngest person is over the age of 50 of these 27.
27 people live in Nagoro,
Yep.
and the oldest one is in his 50s.
No, the youngest one is in the
I meant to say the youngest one is really an older person in their 50s.
Yes. And there's more than 350 of these dolls. Now, these dolls, each one of them represents someone that used to live in the village.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Do they have like their clothing on and
Yes.
stuff? Oh.
Freaky deaky.
Oh, man.
And they look like the person.
Oh.
So if you had a little goatee and you were chubby and you had round glasses, so does this character. And if you like to fish on the riverbank, that's where you are.
So, like people taking care. I mean, listen, if you like a scarecrow, if you hung something outside in the weather month after month, year after year, the clothing's going to get tattered, the doll's going to look all beat up. Are they like caring for these dolls?
Somebody's caring for them, or something is caring for them, because they don't look weathered.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Freaky deaky. Take that as what you will. That is definitely falls under the rubric of freaky deaky.
Freaky deaky. So, in the early 2000s, so first off, this village is in a place called the Aya Valley. It's one of the big islands that's part of Japan, like on the southern side, but pretty close to mainland Japan, probably considered part of mainland Japan because it's a big island. And it's pretty remote. It's mountainous. It used to have about 350 people living there. Mm-hmm. But its population has gone down to 27 people as of September 2019. And
now, Kev, do we know when this doll thing started to happen? When was like the first doll put out?
Here you go. So in the early 2000s, someone named Tsukimi Ayano, whose family left the area when she was a child, moved back to Nagoro to look after her father.
Okay.
And made a doll in his likeness that she placed in the field, because he would usually be out in the field tending to some crops. She has since made more than 350, including replacements, when something goes wrong, and about, or she's made more than 400, including replacements, and about 350 of them are in the village of Nagoro.
So a single woman is responsible for the creation of these
They
dolls.
say that in some of these articles, right? I looked at multiple articles about this place. It's pretty famous, although I never heard of it before. But she made a whole bunch of them, and she seems to have started the situation, the freaky deaky situation. But apparently other people have done it as well. But they do all look similar, not like the same people, but similar genre. Like, to me, they remind me of, the Muppet human characters.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Remember those two guys that would sit in the balcony, of the theater criticizing everything? I forget their name.
People are liking me to them. That was Waldorf and what was the other guy's name?
Right, Waldorf.
Waldorf was one of them, and they used to go,
they suck, don't you think so? Terrible, the worst. I've never seen anything terrible.
I love those guys.
Yeah. So they look a little bit like those guys, but they have a lot of personality, and apparently, like, the likenesses are, shockingly similar to the people that used to live there.
Wow.
So, you were asking me like what they were wearing. So in one classroom in the village school, which was closed in 2012, right, because there were no more students, two of the dolls there are the last two students that studied at that school. And they're dressed in their own clothes.
Oh, man. Really, Kev, I know there are people out there that love me and people out there that can't stand me. But let me tell you something, folks. There is something really wrong with this whole mindset surrounding the creation of and the maintenance of these dolls and likenesses of humans that have lived in this place. There's something really wrong. And by the way, it's Statler and Waldorf.
There you go, Statler and Waldorf. Good,
yeah, the one guy was like bald with like a mustachio.
Yeah.
And the other guy was bald also, but, they showed him with the big nose. And there were two. One was kind of short and stout, and the other one was more like tall and lanky.
Yeah, and they're both pretty darn loud, Pretty critical and pretty loud.
My kind of guys, man.
There you go. There you go.
What do you think they would be saying if Statler and Waldorf were walking through Nagoro when they started seeing the dolls?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, what a mess.
Oh, my God. So where are we going with this? Is that the end?
That's the end, man. So you can go visit this place.
Uh-huh.
And people
I'll pass.
No, and it's in the middle of nowhere, apparently, but you can get a tour of this city. I mean, it's not a popular thing to do by any means because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's not on many people's bucket lists. I got to go to Nagoro.
I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you may be getting this for Christmas, Bill. Hello, Nagoro.
Oh, I'm just trying to visualize this, and it's just
konnichiwa.
Yeah,
Nagoro. Oh, hello. It's called also the Scarecrow Village.
Is that legitimate?
Yeah. Like if you look at a map, which I did,
right?
On Google Maps, everything's in Japanese, but it says Nagoro quote, scarecrow, close quote, village. But very importantly, they talk about the fact that they're not designed to scare any birds away. They are designed, to make the people feel like people still live in the village.
Wow, man. I just don't know what to say about that. It's just so wrong in so many ways.
Well, but it's more than 10 to 1. So picture you're walking down the street, you live in this village, and you're like, oh, hey, Bill. Oh, hey, Janice. But they're stuffed dolls.
Yeah. And I wonder if some people are going over and talking to them like, their likenesses, like
I'm
having
wondering
a
if you go out there at night and they talk back to you.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
can
I come in for a minute?
It's kind of chilly out here in the field tonight.
I'd just like to borrow your telephone. It's supposed to rain tonight. What harm could I do if you let me in?
Oh, my God.
These are the black-eyed dolls.
Oh, my God. I wonder if other people in Japan go there for some strange reason once in a while to... They have some really weird customs, man,
It's a different place, man. What I tell people is, I've been there many times. And by the way, I love Japan. Mm-hmm. But what I tell people is it's as close as you can get to going to another planet without leaving this planet.
Yeah.
And it's just so different.
Yeah.
And the cool part is it's super safe. And it's super clean. Whereas, like, you go to China, which I've been many times, man, you're taking your life in your hands,
Yeah.
Every which way you turn.
Kev, didn't you tell me many years ago that you were looking at that building in China and the elevator? It was a new building. The elevator didn't even make it up to the top floor.
Yeah, I mean, China is just
really
a mess.
Yeah, so
I probably will never be going back, especially because of what's going on over there where they're kidnapping, business people,
Yeah, I wouldn't go there for nothing.
No, I'm done with that stage. But Japan is pretty cool, but this is definitely freaky deaky. I don't know if I'm going to go to Nagoro, and I'm definitely not going to be walking around Nagoro at night.
Mm-hmm. Wow, man. Well, I got something, Kev, that you're going to like tonight. And big shout out to our mates in Australia. Because what we have here, mate, is a Yowie encounter.
Oh, Yowie!
And this following sighting was really the first that I received in regards to, what we know as Australia's Bigfoot-type creature, which, of course, we call the Yowie, or they call the Yowie. And this is what Betty Lancaster saw while hiking in a region called the Kimberly. And if any of our mates across the pond have anything more to contribute to this regional knowledge or whatnot, or anything you want to say, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com, hit the contact link and let me know. But she was in the Kimberly. First of all, I would like to thank you, Bill, for what you and KJ are doing with your Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. It's very informative, as well as being entertaining, while giving someone such as myself a platform whereby I can share what I have seen. In the summer of 2015, I was on one of my many hikes in a region of Australia known as the Kimberly. More specifically, Windjana Gorge, Winjana, Windjana Gorge. My friend Lyle and I had been hiking for several hours, and at some point, a loud kerplunk type of splash had occurred in some water that we were passing by. It was the type of splash that would occur from, say, a rock or something coming down from above, complete with water splashing up in a column and the rings running out in the water after the impact was over. We couldn't understand at the time how this could be or how it could have even taken place, and yet it most certainly had. We were standing deep within the gorge, with towering, jagged-faced walls rising up both behind us as well as across the gorge in front of us, both of which have a fairly robust buffer of trees at their bases. There was not another soul in there with us at the time, and we hadn't seen anyone in over 2 hours. We were too far away from the wall for anything to have fallen from the top into the water, and Lyle had said, rather astutely, that perhaps a large bird had flown overhead and dropped whatever it was clutching into the water, and we just didn't see it. Reasonable, right, Kev? Reasonable assumption. So she says, I remember at the time thinking how smart Lyle was, inasmuch as I hadn't even given such a scenario a thought, and we kept hiking. These walls, by the way, are exceedingly tall, and here and there you could see a plant or two growing on the sides of them. How the seeds get there and how they grow in a rock face, I don't know, but they do. So it was about 45 minutes after the rock or whatever had splashed that the two of us had sat down for a break. We were sitting on 2 boulders, with Lyle facing the gorge's wall, while I was facing the interior of the gorge. At some point, Lyle had been sitting there rather quietly with his gaze fixated above us looking at the wall. And he had said nothing to me when I asked him, are you looking at something? He said to me, I'm not sure. I thought I saw something peeking over the brim of the gorge, but I haven't seen anything since I've been concentrating on the area for the past few minutes. It was then that I said to him, what do you mean, something peeking over the top of the gorge? Do you mean a person? He then followed by saying, I can't say what it was that I saw. I just briefly caught a glimpse of what seemed to be some type of dark coloration, and when I looked, it was gone. So we had once again begun our hike, having yet again come upon another spot where there was somewhat of a small lake or a pond-like area that was formed within the gorge, and kerplunk! The exact same type of resonating splash that had occurred earlier just happened again. This time I caught the entire event out of my peripheral vision, having seen what was most definitely a rock coming down from above and impacting the water's surface. This was certainly nothing that a bird had dropped, and of that I can certainly attest. The two of us turned, looking upward at the same time. We stood there for what must have been 15 minutes or more, gazing at the gorge's top, only resting our necks for a few brief moments as we did so. I remember Lyle saying to Lyle, do you think that someone's up there toying with us and having a good laugh at our expense? To which Lyle said, anything's possible. So the two of us had stopped looking up, and we were now standing by the water's edge, facing where the rock had splashed, when Lyle looked down and said, what is this? This of which he spoke were a number of large footprints in the wet soil, similar to those of a human being, only greatly exaggerated in their dimensions. They were about 16 or 18 inches in length, complete with a full set of 5 toes like that of a human, but they were much wider and longer. As we looked at them, as we looked at them, we could see that whatever had made the tracks had come out of the trees at the gorge's base, come to the water, and walked back into the trees, so we went to investigate. Not exactly what I would have done. No sooner had we begun to enter the very fringe of these trees at the base of the gorge Then did another rock come splashing down into the water now behind us. We jumped out of the trees to look at the water. From our position, the trees were behind us now and were obscuring the lower portion of the wall from our view as we faced the water. Because of this, the first 50 feet or so were blocked from our sight by the angle. So she's talking that as they turned around because of the height of the trees and the angle they were looking, the first 50 feet or so of the base of the rock face going up, they couldn't see. Now listen to this. It was blocked from our sight by the angle from which we were looking with the trees in front of us. Our eyes moved collectively up to the top of the wall, down the side, and back into the water. At some point, I had spun around to once again look at the wall before Lyle had said, and there it was. Excuse me, I read that a little weird. At some point, I had spun back around to once again look at the wall before Lyle had, and there it was. Climbing up the face of the gorge was a broad, hair-covered, gorilla-type creature which was scaling the wall at a rapid pace in front of us. It had to have been in the trees when we had begun to enter them, and was now making its exit, having distracted us with the rock. This thing was climbing a wall that was hundreds of feet high, like a fit man would run up a flight of stairs. How's that for a description?
It's a good description.
It was moving hand over foot with what seemed to be reckless abandon, and we were seeing it with our own eyes. As it reached about 3/4 of the wall's height, we now saw another creature of the same ilk peering out over the top of the precipice, looking downward at the one that was climbing. It was then that Lyle had said, as we stood watching this spectacle, that the one on top must have been distracting us with the rocks the entire time in order to allow the one within the gorge to move undetected by us. It all made perfect sense, and I couldn't believe it. This creature had made it up the entirety of the wall's face in maybe 90 seconds, a feat which in and of itself would be more than likely have taken a man hours to perform with climbing gear. It cleared the top edge and was gone. Lyle had said that we just saw 2 Yowies, a fact of which there was no denying. When I had first seen it on the rock face, it was already about 75 feet from the ground, and it had to have been 6 or 7 feet tall as it was clinging to the face. Its arms, when they were extended above it, seemed to be 2/3 of its height in length, and the power and agility which it exhibited as it climbed was incredible, as it moved its arms in a ridiculously rapid fashion. It seemed to have an inexhaustible supply of both stamina and energy, having not so much as paused for a split second before it reached the top of the gorge. That is just an incredible description. My only regret was that we hadn't caught a photo of it, having only brought our backpacks with water and some food along with us. Life can and does throw some funny things our way, and this was the absolute topper for the 2 of us. I can assure you, Bill, that many a hearty chuckle has been had at our expense upon sharing the events which the 2 of us witnessed on that day with our friends, co-workers, and relatives. But what we saw that day was as real as the nose on your face, and we witnessed it with our own 2 eyes in broad daylight within the confines of the Windjammer Gorge. I now realize for myself as well as Lyle, what it is to be a witness and not to be believed. Why people cannot and will not accept what is truth, I do not have the answer to that. But when you have witnessed something of this ilk and magnitude for yourself, it most certainly opens your eyes in a new and magnificent way to the world in which we live. After all, they are simply another aspect of this grand creation that we call our home. That takes the cake, bro.
And that's good. And one of my favorite hairy men, the Yowie. Best name ever.
How many times? It's got to be at least several times that I could recall, probably more, where people have seen these scaling rock faces at an incredible clip.
Oh, yeah. Well, how about the initial encounter, too, with Kerplunk? I thought that's where you were going. Like, how many times is somebody along a stream and all of a sudden, like, these rocks have fallen into the river?
Right, the rock throws.
Yeah.
And my buddy Rob. Rob, you're out there. I know you're listening in British Columbia. My friend Rob, as he says, a physiotherapist. We call him a PT. And that's how his interest in Bigfoot got sparked. Him and his son and his wife had a couple of rocks thrown.
Oh.
And he was a transplant from Great Britain. And he said, what kind of animal can throw a rock and with accuracy? And that's what sparked his interest in the Bigfoot creature. So they are rock throwers. And they are tree hiders. And they are all the things that everybody says about them, those that have encountered them and witnesses. They're creatures of habit. They throw rocks. They build tree structures. They climb trees. They hide behind trees.
They're stealthy and stinky.
They're stealthy and stinky, like some of my coworkers.
But they're not stealthy enough.
But what an incredible encounter, huh?
It's awesome.
Windjana Gorge in Australia.
Awesome.
And the fact that, and they were spot on, in my opinion, the one on top knew its buddy was in a jam down in the gorge with these humans walking around. And I believe they were right. I wouldn't say they were afraid of the humans, but they wanted to remain incognito. And I think she was right in saying the rocks were a distraction, that when they turned to look at the rocks, this thing could move around behind them in the trees.
Yep.
And who knows, maybe it had to go through an open area to get to another patch of trees, and this thing was providing cover for it.
Who knows? Yeah.
Kind of weird, huh, Kev?
Very weird.
So, and folks, listen, I say this all the time. If you've seen something, say something. And just reach out to us at BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com and the contact link. Tell us what you've seen. Leave your number. I'll call you. We'll have a conversation. I'd love to hear from you. And if you just want to say hello, you could do that too, you know. By the way, right, Kev, we don't get to everybody's emails, so don't feel left out.
Not by any stretch.
Yeah, so we kind of pick and pluck, and, you know, we're not trying to discriminate against anyone, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we do thank all of you for writing in. We do read all of the emails, but we don't get to read all of them online.
Yeah, that's true. So we know you understand. The show's entirety is not about reading emails.
No.
It's about talking about people making dolls in Nogora.
But speaking of reading emails.
Go ahead, bro.
So our first one comes in from Scott E. And he says, the subject is since the first episode with KJ and WJ. So Scott E, man, you're at least 249 episodes in and you started with episode 1. God bless you. Because some of those first episodes, although the content was good, the recording quality was not good. But thanks for sticking with us. And he writes, I have been a loyal fan and reviewer. You guys got me through many a tough day. I know you both have had some rough days and times too. So thank you so much. I pray for you both with love and gratitude. Scott. And he says, P.S. KJ, we need more cryptids in the news and other oddities. Well, come on, Scott, man. This is episode 250. And for the most part, I've introduced you to new cryptids and other oddities every episode.
These people are out of the box,
including, may I borrow your telephone?
Yeah, once...
Can I come in for a minute?
Once in a while, I read some of the reviews, the book reviews. And I remember one saying, a volume, whatever it was, that not as good as the first one, He's referencing the fact that to him, the stories were not quite exciting enough. And listen, you don't just pull 350 Bigfoot encounters out of your bottom. They come in, you report them, you interview, you write them up, and you present them. Just like we did with this Windjana Gorge sighting on this podcast. It is what it is, folks. And until you have one for yourself and can report on it, I wouldn't be too critical of those who are reporting, because a lot of people say, I wish it never happened to me, because they're freaked out by it. So, and by the way, if you go and buy a book, leave a good review. If you buy an audiobook, leave a good review. Leave a good review for the podcast. Right, Kev? We're putting out some work here.
And we are seeing some great reviews on the podcast.
Yeah, fantastic. So, just stay with it, folks. Show a little support. We're doing our best.
It's all good. It's all
good. Yep.
All right, we got another email here. So this is from Dale. He says, hi, y'all. You can use my real name on your show. Everybody already thinks I'm weird. I live in Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee.
Yeah.
I've been listening to your podcast for a couple of months now. It helps pass the time at work. I found your podcast after finishing another show I enjoyed. I started from the first after hearing a more recent... I found your podcast after finishing another show I enjoyed. I started from the first after hearing a more recent episode. I just listened to episode 107, which happened not far from me. But that's not why I'm writing.
Okay.
Episode 109 is the reason for me reaching out.
Huh.
You talked about a rumor of the government employing teams that exterminate Bigfoot.
Uh-huh.
The other podcast I listened to was all about this very subject. I listened to it just for entertainment to pass my nights at the job I hate. But I found several things said about the way Bigfoot acts on your show, and it got me thinking maybe there was something to this. The guy claims to have been employed by the government to get rid of menace Sasquatch. Thought it might be something you guys want to check out. Love your show. Keep it coming. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, something? Look, this happens all across the globe and has been going on for hundreds of years with wildlife, just wildlife in general. If you have a crocodile that has been nailing people washing their laundry in a river, if you have a certain tiger that has been killing villagers, if you have a Sasquatch that those behind the curtains believe is responsible for some deaths, I think we as people have an obligation to go out and hunt them down. Now, some people may not like that manner of speak coming from me, but let me tell you something. If some freaking tiger or something else came after one of my loved ones and did him in, I'm going to give that friggin' thing a lead enema as soon as possible. And, I can't see anything really wrong with that. If somebody suspects something of killing people, you got to look for it, man. You got to hunt the hunted. You got to hunt the hunter. So, I don't know. What do you think of that, Kev?
Yeah, I'm not much of a hunter, but I certainly believe in, defending myself from a wild animal,
Sure.
As long as it's the real thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got our last email from
All right.
one of my namesakes, Kevin. And Kevin doesn't say where he's from, but he says, "Love the show, guys. I just want to say how great the show is. The banter between you two is my favorite part of most shows. Although I don't agree with everything you subscribe to, I completely respect what you do and your opinions. You guys remind me of my brother and I. We also work together and have similar banter. Just wanted to say hey and tell you we appreciate what you do. Love the show. Have a great day, guys." And that's right. Even if you listen to 250 episodes of the show, you don't really know everything that we subscribe to. I know sometimes people will listen to old episodes during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, where we were talking about getting a vaccine, because a lot of people we knew were dying. And then people will listen to it now and they'll think, why are you pushing vaccines now? And it's like, well, we're not, per se, but at that point in time when we were watching people die, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
I love the email, Kevin, first off, the brotherly banter is real. We don't rehearse this at all. We've said it before. We don't even know 98% of the time. We don't know what the other person is going to talk about. So we're surprised by it. So it's not scripted at all. There's no rehearsal. There's no walkthrough. Nothing like that. We just hit record and go as we're 600 miles apart recording it on Skype. So what you see is what you get, whether you like it or not. But
and
I love the feedback.
Yeah, great email. And by the way, folks, Kevin and I don't even have cameras on.
No,
so
if
you hear us stepping on each other occasionally talking, we don't give any high signs, or I don't give Kev a flick of the finger like, go ahead, nothing like that. So it is what it is.
Yep, it's all good. But
it's
that's
good
it,
stuff.
folks. Bill, great podcast. I know all of you are booking your travel right now to Nagora, Japan. I put up some pictures on the website. Again, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods under episode 250. Check out these pictures, man. It is freaky deaky. And again, thank you for all those great 5-star reviews, and especially those written reviews that are so positive. They keep us going and they bring more listeners to the podcast.
Yeah, excellent, Kev. And that was definitely an other oddity. Oh, my God. And, folks, by the way, if you should find yourself walking around the outback of Australia, the foothills in Oregon, the plains of Montana, you best remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. Sleep tight.